So welcome everyone to the Women Thrive book launch. I'm excited to have you here today, and also what an amazing opportunity to meet our authors today in person. And it doesn't happen very often because they're all based around the world. Now when we first started this book journey, we were all strangers. We didn't know each other, right?
Right.
And now it's safe to say we call each other sisters. This whole journey of writing our chapters, writing this book has been very personal, emotional, healing, beautiful, at times hard, transformational.
Most of the time hard.
90% hard.
And I'm sure there's times where you ladies perhaps doubted the process, doubted yourselves, doubted whether these stories would ever come to life. So there's been a journey, and I'm interested to hear from some of you, what are the things that you have had to overcome as a process of writing your chapters in this book? Because I know it hasn't been easy, but I'm sure our audience would love to know, what is it like to share your story with the world in a book like this?
Well, I can say that for me was being able to crack open that fear of being vulnerable. My entire life I've just been wearing this mask of a very strong, successful person, which, you know, in what I really always wanted was someone that I can trust, that can hold me, that can support me. And because I never had that, I just, became this superwoman. And being able to put out the story that's in the book today, it required for me to become very vulnerable. And I know that's true for us.
Yeah. There's been a lot of tears. Who would like to go next to share that? Go ahead.
I had to overcome a lot of hurdles within myself to write this chapter. I was talking about this with a few of you, but there were so many parts of my chapter where I had to put asterisks in it because I'd come back to that and write that part later. I don't want to process that right now. I don't want to feel that part right now. But then I acknowledge that is something that I used to do, and I need to come at that head on. So that was the hardest part, I think, for me in writing this was I had to touch into my vulnerable side and put that on paper and actually live through some things again in order to correctly portray that through my story.
Lauren, what about you?
Yeah, ditto. I had to relive, at first I had to acknowledge a lot of shame that I carried about my life. I came into the project knowing what I was going to write, knowing what I was going to share, Lauren, I in control, and that's what I was going to give. And then the process really pushed me to go deeper. And then as I did that work to try to get the words out, I realized that I really had a lot of shame about the way I grew up, things that I had to do, things that were going on in my family, and I had to process that. And when I was able to do that, my chapter totally changed. It was a whole rewrite, and it's been very freeing, and I'm excited about it. I'm grateful for the process, but it was really, really hard to have to go all the way back, and then also just to identify a lot of insecurities that I had, I didn't really know that I had, and then to open myself up to strangers. But I was able to do that because the environment was really safe and we were all very supported, and it was a much different process than I thought it was going to be. And I was just sharing that with the member of the audience, that it wasn't even like I was writing a book. It was kind of like therapy. And every Friday I looked forward to it. I did tap out for a second because I had some stuff going on, but it became I needed every Friday. I needed to see my sisters. I needed to talk. I needed to cry. It was the only place that I've cried in years. I just hadn't done it, and every Friday I did cry.
And it felt great.
And it felt great.
And we all did in this process.
Who's gonna cry today? I'm actually
Yeah, of course. We're so strong in our daily lives, and this was definitely a place where we could let our emotions run, and it was needed because I think in the process there was a lot of healing that has had to happen. Paige, what about you?
So much. I definitely think fear was the number one struggle for me, and there's different layers of fear, and there's fear about the fear. And at the same time, I feared people's perceptions. Specifically, I'm easy to talk to as far as talking to strangers all day long, and I can share, my story because I've been in therapy my whole life. Like I've learned to work that muscle in a certain way. But when it comes to my nearest and dearest, my family, the people that I knew would be impacted in a way that wasn't going to be fun or pleasant for them, I had to continue to navigate that path, knowing that it's not really about them and that it's not even really about me. It's my story to share my heart in the name of service and to make a bigger impact on the people that I know are going to benefit from it. And that required me actually having a taste of my own medicine, because one of my missions and MOs is feel the fear, do it anyway. In due time. I don't think that we always want to bulldoze if we're not in that place, but I had to be delicate. And opposite to overcoming the fear, I think it was learning to trust myself, my intuition, my craft, because as a writer, this was a new project. It was a new undertaking to write in this environment and to write with emotion about things I had never actually discussed. So there's always new vulnerability when you're sharing something for the first time. And so there's a lot of risks. And I wanted to play with the format, and I wanted to play with left brain stuff, right brain stuff. I wanted to play with the artistic style, on the page. There was just a lot of fun in that for me too. So I can talk about that all day long. But it was a beautiful transformation, it really was.
I love it. And for you, Poli, what do you feel is the thing that you have had to overcome in this process?
Well, if we ignore the fact that I'm not a native speaker, and that I think of course it was hard, but the hardest part were the insecurities. I wanted to give up, I think maybe 100 times per day. When I was writing or rewriting and thinking, how could I evolve that? How could I say it better? I was always thinking, am I even capable of writing it in such a way that we could put it in a book? So there were really times where I hated myself. How come I can't write better? How come I make mistakes? And that's what Lauren said, right? The insecurities that I thought were already gone, done, healed, came up again, or just came up in the spiral of healing on another level. And that level was really tough. But I think we all share the mission. We all share that feeling I'm doing it. Even if I want to give up, there's just no way I can give up. In the reality, I would like to, but I can't.
Yep.
So I just went through it and did my work, and it's amazing what came through.
And I feel like we all birthed something special here. Each and every chapter has got its own energy, its own vibe, and its own purpose of what it's here to do, who is here to serve. What intention, and I'll ask different questions to some of you ladies. What intention did you have to set, Paige, when you were writing your chapter? What did you want your chapter to do for your week?
For me, I have had to, again, trust that for me to not share my truth is not just a disservice to myself, but it's a disservice to others, it's a disservice to the world. I feel that there are repercussions to not loving yourself, and equally there are rewards for doing so. And one of my languages of self-care, self-love is saying yes to the things that I know I need, no matter the cost. So for me, it was the intent to serve and also be witnessed in the way I feel I deserve to be witnessed, and in a way that I haven't yet been able to be witnessed by those I desire to be witnessed by. And so, I was really delicate about how to articulate things with care, because there's a lot of triggering content in here potentially, and so I really wanted to connect safely to the reader that's on the other end of this book, and that was my intent every step of the way.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's not easy, especially as you're talking about such deep things, and there's obviously a lot of repercussions, as you say. Kat, I want to ask you, what has surprised you actually about this process?
I think this process has been surprising in that it's at a way deeper level than I originally thought it would be. And when I first started this, I knew at the end of this there was going to be a book, my name on it, which was insane. And I didn't think about much of the in-between. I was like, I'm gonna sign up and then I'm gonna get a book. So everything in the middle has been a total journey. It's been very healing for me, the writing process. But then, not even just the writing, the connecting with all of you guys. I think I connected with you guys way more than I ever thought. And, I've been in, many kinds of group settings and clubs, and, felt like I wanted that connection to people, but I don't think I had the initiative on my own to go and get that and bring people together. And I think that percentage of, we had a small percentage of that all together, and then we all had this drive to want to connect on a deeper level. And that led us getting here today and meeting up in person, and that took me by surprise. I have way more than a book with my name on it.
I'm still surprised seeing you all in person, that's all I can say.
It's insane.
Lauren, what's that feeling like, becoming an author and holding the book in your hands for the first time? I know you hosted some people on the book launch event, you hosted some people. What was that feeling like when you first opened that box and you saw the book?
I was proud. I was really proud, and because I just wasn't supposed to be here. My story is what it is, but to write the book, to really be able to put the words there, and then to be celebrated. I've had just such a great support. I have had different events. I've had people who wanted to be part of it, and as they saw me writing it, they were just cheering me on. And that felt really good, because normally I'm the one that's cheering people on. And normally I'm the one that's out there, so loud, and people got loud for me, and people were excited to read my story and my words. And as the book has gotten into more hands and people have said, your words have inspired me, they've moved me, and they've empowered me, it makes me feel validated and seen. And so, my name is on the book, and that in itself is crazy. And I do have a big blow up of this in my living room, because it's cool. Because it's surreal, but it's more, like you said, it's more than just my name being on the book. It's just me being able to put myself in here with other women. And this is something that's going to live, and I think that makes me really proud. The story I tell is not just my story, it's really my youngest son's story that I share in this chapter. And so it's here forever for him, for his kids and their kids, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of, it's just like a fairy tale, to be honest. So I'm just proud.
Thank you. When I first heard your story, Lauren, it was mind-blowing. And in the process, I told you, I think there's more to this. And I could see a picture being made out of your story, and something I'd love to see on a big screen. So speaking it into existence right here, right now.
So it shall be.
Christelle, you asked for one thing, to have a hug in person. And here we are. What does it feel like having a hug in person?
I hug you all more than once. Yeah, so it's, I can only agree with all of you. It's not only a book, so it's not only a chapter, because at the beginning I thought, yeah, okay, it's going to be a book, it's going to be a chapter, but for me it was really important that it was meaningful. It was really important to have just not like 10 different chapters in a book, but to make a book. And with all the stories and the journey, so I really felt that. I felt inspired with all the stories. And that's why, so at the moment, so I was like, okay, but we are sharing that, and it's a moment of our life that sometimes we never shared with someone else, or never so deeply. And then we never have seen each other. Like, what? It's not possible. And then if there is one person that I want to hug, so it's like, it's you, because we shared that, we had that together. So that was like spontaneous, like, I want to hug you, all of you. And but it's the thing that the book is the beginning, because we have created something far bigger than the book. It's in the inspiration, and today and this week, and it's exactly what I wanted to have. It's not exactly a book that I wanted to have, but I wanted to have that this community, this together, the inspiration. And I got that, and I think I didn't even understood that it's what I wanted to have. So thank you.
Poli, when we first connected, I thought, maybe this lady is not very serious about this. Because I think we messed up the time more than once, and I was like, maybe she's just not very serious. But she was very determined that she wanted to be part of the book, and she was the first one to sign up. What made you say yes, and what made you say this is what I want?
I have no clue. No, I'm kidding. There were signs in the months before that there's a book coming for me. As I work with energy, I had even another offer for a book, and that went down. Then my client finished her book, and so many things. And there was always some feeling in me, I'm supposed to write a book. So I just let it come to me, as I always do. I know I'm not supposed to initiate, and I'm not supposed to push through. I know that that's not how I want to build my business. And then I added you as my friend. I saw what you do, and I just loved it. And yeah, I messed up the time. I was having lunch with my husband, and some stranger called me from Spain. I was like, what? Who's that? I have 45 minutes to go. I need to rest. But I said, okay, let's check who is it. And that's Ray, like, Poli, where are you? And when we spoke, I think that's what changed. When we spoke about the book, and when I saw that it's exactly like Christelle said, that it's not only let's do that for us and let's push our ego much bigger, or I don't know, something like that, that it's not about that, but it's about something that we share. Our mission is really similar, right? To support women, so we can grow, so we can build our lives as we want to. There was no way I could say no.
Well, thank you. I'm excited that you're here. And I'm excited about your chapter being out there. And I know it wasn't the easiest journey, and we had to go back and forth a couple of times. And I was determined to get it right. I was determined to get it right with you, and I wanted it to be special, and I wanted that chapter to be something you're really proud of, and you feel like, in the end of the day, no matter how many times I had to go back and edit it, I got it right.
Exactly, and I feel that.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for allowing me to guide this process. Genuinely, I feel like very privileged to have a position of mentorship, and also to have people who embrace that as well. Because my intention has always been to do what's best for all of us, for all the chapters, for the book, and also for the readers. So every time I have given mentorship, it was in that spirit of making sure that we get something that we're really, really proud of. Oh, Carmen, in that spirit, you know what I'm going to ask, right? You know, in this process, you try to glide through and perhaps not disclose enough.
Yes.
Your first copy came in, and I was like, right, this is great. If this was your university thesis, really good. It's really good. 10 out of 10. Where's the story? I can't feel nothing. And I called you out a couple of times in this process.
You did. And I am so grateful for that. So it was very interesting because I had just finished writing another book, which I was part, and I have to say that the whole process, Ray, this community, this sisterhood, there's nothing that compares to the beautiful process, energy, mentorship, guidance, friendships that you provide. So thank you. But yes, the story that I eventually was able to produce, thanks to your mentorship, it's very personal. And I don't cry, but vulnerable. And I was gonna get people upset in my family, but I also talk about me and my daughter and how much I had messed up. And she's a teenager, so I wanted to make sure she also approved of it. And writing this book was such a healing process. My makeup is gonna get ruined. At first, because I was talking about vulnerability, at first I was like, oh, I'm just gonna there's three steps to do X, right? And I wrote it in one sitting, and it was 7,000 words. Right? Done. And I knew that it wasn't necessarily what needed to be, because I was nervous about the feedback, and I was looking at the WhatsApp, and I was like, just like, right, exactly what you said. It's like, great thesis. Try again. But we got there, and I am so proud of what it turned out to be. My daughter read it. We cried together. And it's beautiful.
I just imagine you typing up your first draft, like, breeze, this is a breeze. But when you had to really write that story, you told us that you cried 7 hours straight.
Yes. And that's when I knew I got it.
And you certainly did, and I'm very, very proud of you for doing that. I like to push people on the edge of their boundaries of this is where you get the best out of it. I believe that each and every one of you have really gone there. And there's been some healing. There's been some transformation in the process of doing that. I know, and I have observed some of you in this process and where you are now. And I want to hear what has been the most transformative thing about this journey and being here today. Now that you have a book, but there's so much more to come. What do you feel has changed? What transformed in you as a result of going there, going deeper, writing your story, reflecting, healing, where you are now compared to where you were then?
It feels like something opened up. Like on the other side of healing, there's always something for us, a gift. And as I was going through and writing this chapter, in the same time, my mother was going through a really intense time in her life, and you all know about it. And it was like these both things were happening or meant to happen in the same time. So, because as I was healing, she was healing, and we were healing all our lineage. And it opened up what we had here. It even opened up for me during summer, and I share it too, that I'm also supposed to work with men and support them in their heart-led businesses. And that was something I would have never thought I would do. And that's something, right? You can't figure it out with your head. And I think that that's on the other side of the rainbow.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
I can continue because what you say is like it's opened something, and I think for me it's the same. It opened something, and I think it's like the process of the book and the community. It's really like both together, really like made something clearer, and it opened like the door for more clarity and visibility. So for me, and I know that a friend of mine, she met me, I think it was the beginning of the process of the book, and then I wrote a newsletter, I think it was last week, and about my business and something that I was doing for this month. And she told me, wow, it's just amazing how you evolved, so how your business is just on the next level in these last 6 months. I was like, really? So, I mean, when did we meet last time? And I was like, but yeah, she's right, but on the same time, I have the feeling that it's just how I am able to let people see me now. So that means that before I eventually had the same power and the same vision and maybe the same things going on, but I am not someone willing to shine or something like that. It's not something that I want and I kind of let it not be. And now it's just like, okay, I just show you, that's it. And I believe that the process of the book and you ladies, so just showing up and being vulnerable and say, okay, here it's me and my light and so on, I started to do, okay, so I'm just going to show what I'm doing and that's it. And it seems that people are going to start to see that even more. Before that, it was really like close people working with me, like, it's cool, so cool what you do and how we work together. But now, so the aura is spreading, and that is very interesting. That's very interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's certainly the point of this process is to challenge you to share your story, to be visible, because that is the purpose of the book. Not only to just transform the lives of others, but shine a light on you. And this is what I wanted. That was my intention that I set out, and it seems like it has worked.
There's something else, and it's that each of the stories, including yours, which we haven't talked about, each of the stories touched a part of me that needed healing. And thank you for that.
Thank you.
There was a ripple effect. Like when one person went deeper, someone else went deeper in a way that connected or in a way that mirrored, and by the end, as Christelle said earlier, it was not just individualized chapters, it was a cohesive work of art. It was like walking into one exhibit, into another, different rooms of the same gallery. When I read it, all connected for the first time on the flight here, it was an immersive experience, different from when I just was reading my personal chapter or somebody else's personal chapter. And I learned something about each one of you ladies reading this book in totality that I did not know throughout the process, because we had peer editors and we had assigned people that we connected with. I think we also just read each other's because we wanted to, but we didn't see all of the drafts every single step of the way. So there was a lot of evolution that occurred in between each version. And I'm so proud of every single woman here. I'm so proud to be up here alongside you, because I know what it took for me to get this on paper, and I know what it took for all of you and to witness each other in that space is next level.
Yeah. To touch on that though, I think a point that you left out too was she was so, you were talking about how it flowed from chapter to chapter and it just like kept building and building and building, and like the entire book as a whole was so empowering. And she was telling Rick, she was like, the way that you put the chapters together was genius. The way the chapters were put together was when the order in which we signed up. So it was just, it locked into place.
Yeah. You did it.
I didn't.
You did it.
So that's just crazy to me. And to touch on what we were speaking on earlier, I think that the process of this book was very healing. But as someone who struggles with being vulnerable, this was like peak vulnerability. Like this is like on paper and it's out in the world and strangers are reading it and knowing more about me. And but while it's also a peak vulnerable point that I had to get to for this, I now have this sense of clarity and myself. I know my story, and it's given me like this sense of confidence, and it's been an amazing journey.
I can't wait to see those pictures from Valencia photo shoot.
From La Diva.
Laura, something evolved for you in this process, which I only got to find out after it has happened, which you took the leap of your career.
Yeah.
What's evolved in this process for you personally?
Well, I think I was able.
I know.
I'm a crier, which is so crazy because I'm not a crier.
Guess
But
you're a nurse.
whenever I'm
You're
with
a
these, it's like it's my kryptonite. It is. For me, it was an unveiling, to be honest. Like I have, as I just shared, I've just lived a life of struggle where I've just been head down pushing. Most of my life has really been about other people and protecting other people. And so there were two things that happened in this process. One was, for the very first time, I said out loud that my children were not my children. There were people who've known me. My youngest is 19, my oldest is 22. There are people who've known me that entire time who never knew that my children were not my biological children, because it was never my story to tell, and I was always protecting my little sister, and I was protecting my children. I had a drug baby, and my oldest has emotional issues, and there was the shame. And so it was always about protecting, and so I swallowed a lot of myself for the past 19 years trying to just protect. And so I knew I wanted to start to tell the story because I knew that other people needed to hear it, because people perceive me as being this superwoman, as if I've got it all together and I'm perfect, and I am perfectly flawed, right? I come from everything that no one would ever imagine. And so it was big for me to be able to say those things out loud, to write them. And then as I was doing that, I really was able to try to find myself again. And I had built this amazing career. Again, from the outside, it looked amazing, but it was never what I wanted. I never wanted to be a corporate lawyer. I always wanted to go back to Bolivia and continue dancing and change the world through like some nonprofit. But I had to put all that on hold, and I built this career that I hated. I didn't want it. And stepping into this process, it gave me the courage, I think, really, because the momentum was just going, to say, listen, I keep saying this is what I want to do. I want to lead. I want to change other people's lives, other women's lives. I need to do it. And so I just did it. And I didn't really have a plan, which is kind of crazy. And I just was like, if it's going to ever happen, it has to happen now. Like right now, everything has to just happen. The veils all have to come off. I have to live for me, and I have to smile again. I have to dance again. I have to be happy again. And so I gave myself permission to do that. And I did. I walked away from a very lucrative career to step out on faith, knowing that I had something great inside of me that needed to be shared. And it was the best decision I ever made. I left in February, March, and I've grown my business to, it's a 6-figure business. We're about to hit some 7 figures soon here. And it's just like, it's amazing what has happened. And it only happened because I really stepped into my true self, and I took the mask off, and I stopped protecting everybody, because nobody was protecting me. Nobody was protecting me. And it sucked. And so now I'm out here free, And the greatest thing that's happened is there's so many other women who are like, oh my God, I had no idea. Now they're sharing their vulnerabilities and they're asking for help. And I'm like, you can do it. Of course, you're stronger than you know, right? And that's the title of my chapter. And it is so true that we're all stronger than we know. You know, you just have to have sometimes someone, you know, next to you to just tell you that. So this book really, for me, like, has been life-changing. Like, I can never go back to where I was. I would never want to. And I think it's the gateway literally to me conquering that goal of changing the world.
And this is what happens when we get together and cry. Because it has been a deep journey, deep transformation. And yeah, it's just been amazing to witness. There's been a huge shift in all of your energy, in the way you all show up through this process and thereafter.
So how was it for you, the last 6 months?
I knew someone would turn it back over you.
So tell us.
It's interesting because I always do this with speaking and also with authorship. I help everyone else until I help myself. So I made sure all of your chapters were in and perfect and read through and edited, and I left mine to the very last. But there was a reason why I left it to the very last, because the plan initially was to write a letter to my daughter, which at the time she was still in my belly once we were going through this process. And of course I had to take some time off for my maternity. And when I came back, I had to begin this journey of writing my own chapter. I think I was ready because she was here. Although the idea of what my chapter was about, I feel like I was ready. And what I wanted to write and what I ended up writing about was very, very different. And I've gone there. I've gone to places where I've never gone before to talk about parts of my life that other than people who know me from childhood don't know it. And I don't speak about it. And I had to expose some truth about my own family. I think that ties in a lot to all of your stories as well. I had to share some vulnerabilities and imperfections of my own life. And no, it wasn't easy, but it was interesting when I got to share this story with my mom and my sister. As you know, they're my closest two. And they said, we never knew this is what you were experiencing. I had an experience when I was young, when I was 11, and my parents left to go to the UK. And I have had to go through quite a few things on my own. I had to grow up very, very quickly. And I feel like those were the things that shaped my life and where I am now and how I live my life and the things that I feel are important to me and why I'm so determined also in my own life. Because I have had to overcome so many things from a young age. So for me also, just sharing my chapter was the first time I got to share that story that was very personal, vulnerable about my family that I never done before. And genuinely knowing that my chapter of this significance to me was shared in a book of the same significance of your stories to you, that is connected to your family, your children, your background, deep stories. It's honestly an honor to say that we get to share this all together, and the person on the other side will get to experience this holistic book of all of our stories that gone so deep. So I believe that this, as you all say, this isn't just a book. It's something magical that we all have created. So my dear authors, thank you for crossing the seas, for being here, for sharing your stories, for being vulnerable, for going through the healing. And just bringing the magic out into the world. I'm super proud and I'm excited that we get to do this all together in person. And it's not going to be the last event we ever do. Because we have so much more.
Where's the champagne?
All of us now. We didn't have a big hug. We didn't have Carmen last time.
We did it, guys.
This is our favorite part. We came for a hug. We got it.
Yeah.